The greatest prison people live in is the fear of what other people think. David Icke. You want success? You want freedom? Then stop depending on others. Leaning on friends, family, bosses, or the system is a loser's game. It's a chain around your neck, keeping you broke, stuck, and powerless. Independence isn't optional. It's the only path to a life worth living. You don't build wealth, purpose, or strength by waiting for handouts or approval. You do it by owning your life, your skills, your opportunities, and your mind. Dependence is a disease, and it's been crippling humanity for centuries. Let's break it down. Why people fall into this trap, how it started, what it costs, how to spot it, and, most importantly, how to crush it. We'll look at 4 principles to live by and give you hard, actionable steps to stand on your own. This isn't fluff. This is the truth. Why people depend on others. Dependence isn't just laziness. It's a mindset rooted in fear, habit, and conditioning. People lean on others because they're scared. Scared of failing, scared of looking stupid, scared of standing alone. Fear makes you cling to a boss's praise, a friend's advice, or a system's safety net. It's easier to wait for someone else to fix your problems than to face the risk of solving them yourself. Habit plays a role too. If you grew up with parents doing everything for you or a community that spoon-fed solutions, you're trained to expect help. Schools don't help. They teach you to follow rules, not to think for yourself. Society rewards conformity, so you learn to rely on external validation. Then there's conditioning. The world sells you a lie, that you need others to succeed. Advertisements push quick fixes, governments push welfare, and bosses push loyalty to their agenda. They want you dependent. It keeps you controllable. Another reason is comfort. Dependence feels safe, like a warm blanket. Why struggle when you can let someone else take the lead? Why learn a skill when a colleague can do it for you? Comfort breeds weakness. Some people depend because they lack confidence. They don't trust their own judgment, so they defer to others. Others are just entitled. They think the world owes them a living. They wait for family money, government checks, or a lucky break. Finally, there's the myth of scarcity. People believe resources, opportunities, or knowledge are locked away, accessible only through someone else's generosity. This is nonsense. The world is full of tools, information, and paths. You just have to grab them. A history of dependence. How it started and why it's bad. Dependence isn't new. It's woven into human history, and it's been a shackle since the dawn of civilization. Let's trace it back. In prehistoric times, humans survived by cooperating in tribes. You hunted together, shared food, and protected each other. This wasn't dependence. It was mutual survival. Everyone contributed. But as societies grew, hierarchies formed. By 3000 BC, Mesopotamia and Egypt had kings, priests, and nobles who controlled resources. Common people became dependent on rulers for land, food, and safety. This was the seed, power imbalances that made self-reliance harder. In ancient Greece and Rome, dependence deepened. Citizens relied on city-states for protection, grain, and laws. Slaves and serfs had no choice, they were owned. Even free people leaned on patrons for favors or jobs. The feudal system in medieval Europe made it worse. By the 9th century, peasants were tied to lords, working land they didn't own, paying taxes and begging for mercy. Self-reliance was impossible for most. By the 18th century, dependence was entrenched. Colonial systems forced indigenous peoples to rely on European powers. Workers depended on factory owners for wages. Women were often bound to husbands or fathers for economic survival. Why is this bad? Dependence kills freedom. When you rely on someone else for your livelihood, your choices, or your identity, you're not living, you're existing. Historically, it's kept people oppressed. Peasants couldn't leave their lords because they'd starve. Colonized nations couldn't break free without fighting bloody wars. Dependence also kills potential. If you're waiting for a king, a priest, or a boss to give you permission, you're not creating, innovating, or growing. It breeds complacency. Whole societies stagnate when people stop thinking for themselves. Look at the Dark Ages. Progress slowed because blind loyalty to authority crushed curiosity. Even today, dependence on welfare, corporate jobs, or social approval traps people in cycles of mediocrity. It's a prison you can't see, but it's real. The 18th century, though, showed cracks in this system. It was a time when some broke free, proving independence was possible. The Enlightenment sparked ideas of individual rights and reason. People started questioning kings, churches, and traditions. This is where our examples come from. Men and women who defied the norm and built their own paths. Their stories aren't just history. They're proof you can do the same. The consequences of dependence. Dependence isn't just inconvenient, it's destructive. It robs you of confidence. Every time you wait for someone's approval, you tell yourself you're not good enough. Over time, you believe it. It steals your time. Years slip by while you hope for a raise, a mentor, or a miracle. You're 50, still in the same job, still blaming others. It limits your wealth. If you depend on a single paycheck or a government check, you're one layoff or policy change from disaster. It kills your creativity. When you lean on others for ideas or solutions, your brain gets lazy. You stop innovating. Dependence also makes you vulnerable. If your boss controls your income, they control your life. If your friends dictate your choices, they own your identity. If the system provides your safety net, it can pull it away. Look at history. When peasants depended on lords, one bad harvest meant starvation. Dependence breeds resentment too. You hate the people you rely on because deep down, you know they hold power over you. Worse, it spreads. Your kids see you waiting for handouts and learn to do the same. Whole communities get trapped in cycles of entitlement or victimhood. The ultimate cost is your potential. You were born with talents, dreams, and the ability to achieve. Dependence buries them. Imagine a life where you're free, financially secure, mentally strong, and in control. Now imagine staying dependent, tethered to someone else's whims, forever a follower. That's the real tragedy. How to spot dependence. Before you can break free, you need to see the chains. Dependence isn't always obvious. It hides in habits, excuses, and routines. Here's how to spot it. You wait for approval. If you can't make a decision without asking your spouse, boss, or friend, you're dependent. Example, you want to start a business but won't until your family says it's okay. You rely on one source. If your income, knowledge, or emotional stability comes from a single person or system, you're at risk. Example, you only know what your coworker teaches you about your job. You make excuses. Blaming your situation on others, your parents, the economy, or bad luck, is a red flag. Example, you say you can't learn a skill because you don't have time or money. You avoid risk. If you stick to what's safe because you're scared of failing without a safety net, you're dependent. Example, you stay in a dead-end job because you fear losing your boss's support. You feel entitled. If you expect help from others, family money, government aid, or favors, you're leaning on them. Example, you wait for an inheritance instead of building your own wealth. You're always asking for help. Constantly seeking advice, resources, or validation means you don't trust yourself. Example, you ask friends how to solve every problem instead of researching. Check yourself. How many of these apply to you? Be honest. Spotting dependence is the first step to killing it. 4 principles to break free. Now let's get to work. Here are 4 principles to stop depending on others. These aren't theories, they're battle-tested truths. Follow them, and you'll build a life of power, purpose, and freedom. Principle 1, own your path. Your life is yours. Not your parents, not your bosses, not the government's. Stop expecting others to map your future. You're the one who decides where you go, what you do, and who you become. Waiting for permission or a handout is a coward's move. Own it. Example, Benjamin Franklin. In 1723, at age 17, Franklin was a printer's apprentice in Philadelphia, under his brother's thumb. He could have stayed, relying on family for work and security. Instead, he broke free. He ran away to start over, teaching himself writing, publishing, and business. By his 20s, he was running his own print shop and publishing Poor Richard's Almanac. He didn't wait for his brother's approval or a rich uncle's money. He owned his path, and it made him a legend. Why it works. Franklin's story shows that owning your path means taking risks and trusting your vision. He faced uncertainty, leaving home with no safety net, but he bet on himself. That's the key. When you own your path, you stop being a victim of circumstances. How to spot dependence. Here. You're dependent if you wait for others to guide your decisions. Maybe you're in a job you hate, but won't quit until someone offers you a better one. Or you want to move but need your family's blessing. If you're asking, what should I do? Instead of deciding, you're leaning on others. Consequences of dependence. If you don't own your path, you drift. You end up living someone else's life, a parent's dream, a spouse's plan, or a boss's agenda. You wake up at 60 full of regret, wondering why you never took charge. Action points? Set a clear goal. Write down one thing you want in the next year. A new skill, a side hustle, a trip. Don't ask anyone's opinion. Decide. Make one independent decision today. It could be as small as signing up for a course or as big as quitting a toxic job. Act without checking with others. Stop blaming. If you're stuck, don't point fingers at your upbringing or economy. List 3 things you can do this week to move forward. Create a 5-year plan. Where do you want to be? What income, skills, or lifestyle? Map it out and review it monthly alone. Say no to pressure. If family or friends push you toward their goals, example, stay in this safe job, politely refuse and stick to your vision. Principle 2. Master your skills. Knowledge is power, and power is independence. If you rely on others to teach you, solve your problems, or do your work, you're a slave to their expertise. Master your own skills, and you'll never need to beg for help. The world pays for competence, not complaints. Example, Phyllis Wheatley. Born in West Africa, kidnapped and enslaved in Boston in 1761, Wheatley had no access to formal education. Her owners taught her to read, but she didn't stop there. She studied literature, history, and poetry on her own, sneaking books when she could. By 1773, she published poems on various subjects, becoming the first African-American poet in America. She didn't wait for a teacher or a school. She mastered her craft through sheer will. Why it works? Wheatley's story proves that skills are your ticket to freedom. Despite slavery, she built expertise that gave her a voice. Skills make you valuable, and value makes you independent. No one can take that away. How to spot dependence. Here, you're dependent if you expect others to hand you knowledge. Maybe you rely on a coworker to explain your job or wait for a boss to train you. If you say, "I can't do this because no one showed me," you're leaning too hard. Consequences of dependence. Without skills, you're replaceable. You stay at the bottom, low pay, low respect, low control. If your expertise comes from others, they own your worth. Action points. Pick one skill to learn. Choose something tied to your goals. Writing, coding, accounting, or public speaking. Start today. Use free resources. Find YouTube tutorials, library books, or online courses. Example, Coursera, Khan Academy. Spend 1 hour daily studying. Practice daily. If you're learning to write 500 words a day. If it's coding, build a small project. Repetition builds mastery. Teach someone else. Once you learn something, explain it to a friend. Teaching forces you to understand deeply. Stop asking for help too soon. If you hit a problem, research it for 30 minutes before asking anyone. Build problem-solving muscle. Principle 3. Make your own breaks. Opportunities don't come to you. They're built. Waiting for a boss to promote you, a friend to connect you, or the system to favor you is a fool's errand. The world rewards action, not hope. Create your own breaks and you'll never need anyone's charity. Example, Samuel Johnson. In the 1730s, Johnson was a struggling writer in London, with no money or connections. He could have waited for a patron to fund him, as many writers did. Instead, he hustled. He wrote essays, poems, and reviews for magazines, often anonymously, and pounded the pavement to sell his work. By 1755, his A Dictionary of the English Language made him famous. He didn't rely on the literary elite. He made his own opportunities through grit. Why it works. Johnson's life shows that opportunities come from persistence, not luck. He didn't have a rich uncle or a fancy degree. He wrote, networked, and kept pushing until the world noticed. You create breaks by showing up and delivering value. How to spot dependence. Here, you're dependent if you're waiting for a lucky break. Maybe you hope a recruiter calls you or a friend introduces you to someone important. If you're sitting still, expecting doors to open, you're reliant. Consequences of dependence. Waiting for opportunities wastes your life. You miss chances to grow, earn, or shine. Someone else, someone who acts, gets the promotion, the deal, or the spotlight. Action points. Start a side hustle. Sell a skill, writing, tutoring, or fixing things on platforms like Fiverr or local ads. Don't wait for a job offer. Network proactively. Reach out to 3 people in your industry this week. Email them. Ask for advice or offer value. Don't wait for introductions. Pitch an idea. At work, suggest a project or improvement. At home, start a blog or YouTube channel. Act without being asked. Build a portfolio. If you're a writer, publish online. If you're a designer, post your work. Show the world what you can do. Embrace rejection. Apply for jobs, grants, or gigs even if you might fail. Each no is a step closer to a yes. Principle 4. Toughen your mind. Dependence thrives on weakness. Fear of failure, rejection, or uncertainty makes you cling to others. To stand alone, you need a mind like steel. Resilience isn't born, it's built. Toughen up, and no setback will break you. Example, Mary Wollstonecraft. In the 1780s, Wollstonecraft was a single woman in England with no wealth or status. Women were expected to depend on men for survival. She refused. She worked as a governess, taught herself philosophy, and wrote A Vindication of the Rights of Woman in 1792, challenging society's rules. Facing scorn and poverty, she stayed strong, relying on her intellect and will. Her resilience changed history. Why it works? Wollstonecraft's story shows that mental toughness lets you defy odds. She faced rejection and ridicule but kept going. A strong mind trusts itself no matter who doubts you. How to spot dependence. Here, you're dependent if you need validation or emotional support to act. Maybe you won't start a project until friends cheer you on. If you crumble at criticism or setbacks, you're leaning on others' strength. Consequences of dependence. A weak mind keeps you fragile. You avoid risks, miss opportunities, and let others control your emotions. You'll never achieve big things if you're scared to fall. Action points. Face discomfort daily. Do one thing that scares you. Call a client, speak in a meeting, or try a new skill. Small fears build big courage. Journal setbacks. When something fails, write what happened, why, and how to fix it. Don't vent to others. Solve it yourself. Cut toxic ties. If friends or family drain your confidence, limit contact. Surround yourself with people who respect your independence. Meditate or reflect. Spend 10 minutes daily thinking about your goals and why they matter. A clear mind doesn't need external props. Celebrate solo wins. When you succeed, don't seek applause. Reward yourself with quiet pride. Train your mind to be its own cheerleader. Expanded action plan. Breaking free for good. Now that you know the principles, let's make it real. Dependence doesn't die overnight. It's a habit you break through consistent action. Here's a detailed plan to root it out, covering every angle of your life. These steps build on the action points above, but go deeper, giving you a roadmap for the next 90 days. Week 1. Audit your dependence. List your dependencies. Write down every area where you rely on others. Money, decisions, emotional support, or knowledge. Be brutally honest. Identify triggers. What makes you lean on others? Fear of failure? Lack of skills? Spot the patterns. Commit to change. Write a one-sentence pledge. I will take full responsibility for my life. Read it daily. Week 2. Build a foundation. Set 3 goals. 1 for career, example, learn a skill. 1 for personal growth, example, read a book. 1 for finances, example, save $100. Keep them private. Learn one resource. Find a free tool, YouTube, a library, or an app to start mastering a skill. Spend 30 minutes daily. Make one solo decision. Choose something small, like a new hobby or a budget plan, without asking anyone's input. Week 3. Take action. Start a project. Launch a blog, sell a service, or create a portfolio. Don't wait for perfection. Just start. Reach out. Contact one person who can help you grow, not spoon-feed you. Ask a specific question like, what's one book you recommend for marketing? Face a fear. Do something you've avoided. Public speaking, negotiating, or applying for a stretch role. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Week 4. Strengthen your mind. Reflect daily. Spend 5 minutes each night writing what you did well and what you'll improve. Don't share it, own it. Cut one crutch. If you always call a friend for advice, skip it this week. Research or think through the problem yourself. Reward progress. If you hit a goal, celebrate alone. A coffee, a walk, a quiet moment. Train yourself to value your own approval. Months 2-3, scale up, double your learning. Add a second skill or deepen the first. Aim for 10 hours a week of deliberate practice. Create multiple income streams. If you rely on one job, start a side gig. Sell crafts, tutor, or freelance online. Build a network. Connect with 5 new people in your field. Offer value, a tip, a resource, or a kind word, without expecting favors. Test your resilience. Take on a bigger challenge. A tough project, a solo trip, or a public talk. Prove you can handle it alone. Review and adjust. At the end of 90 days, check your progress. What's working? What's not? Set new goals and keep pushing. Why dependence persists and how to end it. Even with all this, dependence is sticky. It's wired into your brain by years of conditioning. Society wants you compliant. Schools train you to obey, jobs train you to conform, and media trains you to consume. Breaking free takes effort, but it's worth it. Here's why people keep falling back and how to stop. Fear of responsibility. Taking charge means owning your failures. It's scary. Solution: start small. Make one independent choice daily until it feels normal. Social pressure, friends and family love control. They'll guilt you into staying dependent. Solution, set boundaries. Say, I appreciate your input, but I'm handling this. Instant gratification. Dependence is easy. Independence is hard. People want quick fixes. Solution, focus on long-term wins. Track your progress to stay motivated. Lack of role models. If everyone around you is dependent, it feels normal. Solution, study people like Franklin, Wheatley, Johnson, and Wollstonecraft. Let their stories inspire you. To end dependence, you need discipline. It's not a one-time fix, it's a lifestyle. Every day ask, am I leaning on someone else? If yes, stop. Research, act, or pivot. Over time, independence becomes your default. The payoff of independence. Let's talk results. When you stop depending on others, you unlock your life. You gain confidence. Every skill you master, every opportunity you create, proves you're capable. You build wealth. Multiple income streams, side hustles, investments, or businesses replace a single paycheck. You find purpose. Owning your path means living for your goals, not someone else's. You become unbreakable. A tough mind laughs at setbacks. You're not waiting for approval, so criticism bounces off. You're not tied to one job, so layoffs don't scare you. You're not begging for help, so you're free. Contrast that with dependence. You're fragile. One job loss, one argument, one policy change can ruin you. You're resentful, always mad at the people you rely on. You're bored, living a small life because you never took risks. You're regretful, looking back at missed chances. That's not living, that's surviving. Historical proof it works. The 18th century was brutal. No welfare, no internet, no safety nets. Yet Franklin, Wheatley, Johnson, and Wollstonecraft thrived. They didn't have half the tools you do. Free courses, global markets, instant information. If they could break free in a world of kings, slavery, and sexism, you've got no excuse. Their secret wasn't luck or privilege. It was action. They owned their paths, mastered skills, created opportunities, and stayed tough. You can too. Final challenge, you're at a crossroads. One path is dependence, safe, easy, and miserable. The other is independence, hard, scary, and worth it. Choose now. Stop waiting for your boss to fix your career, your friends to boost your confidence, or the system to save your future. You're not a victim. You're not a follower. You're a force. Take the principles. Own departure. Your path, master your skills, make your breaks, toughen your mind, and live them. Follow the action plan. Audit your dependencies. Build your foundation. Act relentlessly and strengthen your core. In 90 days, you'll be a different person. In 5 years, you'll be unstoppable. The world doesn't owe you anything. Your dreams don't belong to your family, your boss, or your government. They belong to you. Stop depending on others. Start depending on yourself. Get to work.